Greetings and happy wargaming, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, some interesting news has popped up. I've been keeping on this. I was kind of waiting to the end of the week to kind of like sum it all together. But anyway, for those who don't know, Codex Space Marines 2.0 is going to be coming in. So what happened? It's been 2 years since Codex. So it's been 2 years since Codex Space Marines, since the last Codex Space Marines came out. Now the thing is that Games Workshop kind of did a little talk about in their previews, because what they said was, because it earlier said that Space Wolves and Blood Angels, Dark Angels, and Space Wolves are going to be getting and some updates that are going to kind of make them a little more not Codex compliant, but it's just add stuff. But we all kind of went into this, and some information got crossed. So because in the earlier version of the article before it was changed, was that the Space Wolves, Blood Angels, and Dark Angels would get access to the entire Space Marine armory. Now that got changed, and they had to, and now it's like, oh, we're just gonna get some new Primaris models. This is just they're just gonna make the Vanguard Space Marines available to us in a FAQ update, in a errata or FAQ update. But the way I'm going around this is that I want to talk about the stuff that's going to be in the Codex, and because this may be a glimpse, a sneak peek, if you will, into what could be happening for Space Wolves, Blood Angels, and Dark Angels. Now, let's see. The first preview article was on Enhanced Chapter Tactics. Now, these Enhanced Chapter Tactics are just basically their standard their tactics from back in the current Codex, but they have some extra stuff at the end. Says here, like say, because first off, and also actually an interesting thing is they have Codex Space Marines, but also what they're doing is to make it a little more interesting. They're having it as this. These are basically this is for Codex compliant chapters, but you're gonna have like access to. But it's like if you're a vanilla Codex compliant Space Marine player, you're gonna get access to the Crimson Fist chapter tactic. You're gonna get access to the Black Templars chapter tactic. They're gonna update some rules. Also, they have updated some weapon. Also, they've updated weapon profiles. But let's get into the Crimson Fists right now. The tactic is called No Matter the Odds. Now, it says here that when resolving an attack made by a model with this tactic against a unit that contains at least 5 more models in that model's unit, add 1 to the hit roll. That's kind of basically these chapter tactics have two parts now, which is actually very good. For the purposes of this tactic, a vehicle model with this tactic counts as 5 models. Now, in addition, when resolving an attack made with a bolt weapon by a model with this tactic, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. Now that's actually pretty cool. That's for like people who are descendants of the Imperial Fist chapter. And also Stalker Bolt Rifle. And it says here that this is a weapon update. The Stalker Bolt Rifle is now 2 damage. That's nice. That's pretty cool. It's kind of like, as you know, the Stalker Bolt Rifle is long-range sniper rifle, combat sniper rifle. It's interesting. Let's see here. The Black Templars, Righteous Zeal. When a charge roll is made for a unit with this tactic, you can reroll any or all of the dice. In addition, when a model with this tactic would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll a d6. On a 5+, that wound is not lost. That's a good way of keeping your guys alive, and that's a way of really keeping your guys alive to like fight on. That's pretty nice. Let's see. Imperial Fists, who are the Siege Masters. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model with this tactic, the target does not receive the benefit of cover to its saving throw, and if that attack was made with a bolt weapon, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. So basically, it's kind of like, the Crimson Fists get a hold of that feeling from their parent chapter, which is the Imperial Fists. And also the way I believe it is that with the Codex supplements for successors, you're gonna get, in some cases, access to their I think with the successor chapters, you're gonna be in the Codex, the Space Marine Codex. And the supplement will possibly have the current successor chapters. Ultramarines Codex Discipline. Add 1 to the leadership characteristic of models with this tactic. Units with this tactic can shoot in a turn in which they fell back, but if they do, when resolving an attack made by a model in that unit in the shooting phase of that turn, subtract 1 from the hit roll. That's excellent. I mean, that says increases your leadership to 1. And the thing about these chapter tactics is that they're army-wide. Now, I don't know how they're going to do that I don't know how they're going to handle that with Space Wolves, because after what they said that we're not going to get a lot of stuff, because with Space Wolves, they're not going to get a lot of stuff when it comes to the changes. They're going to try and what they're trying to do is they're going to try and keep these changes small for like non-Codex compliant chapters. And what they're going to do is, like, when the codexes come out, because Space Wolves came out around this time last year, so next year is when the Space Wolves are going to finally come out. Let's see. Let me take a look at this. Ultramarines Codex Discipline. Which they fell back. Oh, that's right. They can shoot. They can shoot after falling back. They can shoot when falling back. That's pretty cool. Let's see. White Scars. Now, the way I'm noticing, this is that they're making the rules more thematic, and I've noticed this pattern. And if you've been in the hobby and I've only been in the hobby since late 5th edition, and what I've noticed with 6th edition to 7th edition is that when a new edition is when a new rulebook edition is placed, Games Workshop has to get all the armies into that edition with rules changes, and then later on they can make the rules a lot more fluffy. So, like, take a look with the White Scars Lightning Assault. Units with this tactic can charge in a turn in which they advanced or fell back. Biker models with this tactic do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons or for advancing and firing assault weapons. meaning that these guys can keep on the move and still be able to do something, and still be able to kind of dish out that same amount of punishment. The Raven Guard Shadow Masters. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon against a unit with this tactic by a model that is more than 12 inches away, that unit is treated as having the benefit of cover to its saving throw, and if that unit is not a vehicle, it is entirely on or within a terrain feature, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So basically, your arm, if as long as your army is 12 inches or more away from an enemy unit, they have the benefit of being in cover. And if it's not a vehicle, and that's the entire army, but except for and if your model is not a, meaning that even your vehicles get cover saves, but but things that are not vehicles, it makes it hard. Basically, it tacks on a penalty to your opponent for shooting at you, meaning you have a 2+ cover save, and your opponent has you have a 2+ cover save, and your opponent has a -1 to hit just for you being in the Raven Guard, having a Raven Guard chapter tactic. Just for you being and also being an infantryman, being one of the tactical marines or an assault marine. That's powerful. That's really powerful. Alright, so later on in this, we're going to get into some interesting other stuff. Let's see. Salamanders has Battle Forged, which what it does is that it reduces that's like if weapons that have a -1 armor piercing, that have -1 AP, then that is reduced to 0, which is pretty cool. That's good for okay, I mean that you still get your 3+ cover save. You still get your 3+ armor save. Iron Hands, the flesh is weak. You get to Overwatch. Iron Hands chapter tactic allows you to Overwatch on a 5 and a 6. And also what happens is that, now this is an interesting part of that tactic. Models with this tactic that have a damage table are considered to have double the number of wounds remaining for the purposes of determining what row to use on that damage table. So basically, let's just get that clear. It doesn't double your actual wounds, but regarding to the damage table, you're not really taking that much damage. You're basically not even slowing your dreadnought down. You're basically not slowing your tanks down. Let's see. And that's all the chapter tactics. So basically, those are cool. We might get later, when the Space Wolves Codex comes out sometime next year, or maybe the year after that. I hope it's going to be next year, because you just basically made these guys incredibly fluffy, and you just basically made these guys incredibly fluffy, and it's going to be hard to fight against them. So let's see. So that's chapter tactics. Now we're going to be moving on to create your own chapter. Now the way I'm doing this is I'm going down and down and down from Monday to Wednesday, which is today. To those who are watching this a lot later. Let's see. It says here with successor chapters, you can pick when making a successor chapter. You can pick 2 different successor chapter tactics. You can mix and match them so that they can I'm going to make a thematic army of my own choice. Like a lot of people are probably wanting to make the Wolf Spear chapter. I know a lot of people are going to try and do that. And now you can and also you can take on some of the chapters abilities of a previous chapter, of a first founding chapter. And I'm not really going to get that much into it for one. Let's see here. This one thing is, in either of these cases, you'll still be able to select a second successor chapter tactic to add your own narrative or competitive flair and make the chapter your own. Of course, at the far end of the spectrum is the total freedom to create a successor tactic combination of your choice, free from any obligation to a first founding chapter. To that end, here's an example: bolter fusillades and long-range marksmen. Now this one can get jazzed. When resolving an attack made with a bolt weapon by a model with this tactic, reroll a hit roll of 1. Long-range marksman. Add 3 to the range characteristic of ranged weapon models with this tactic. meaning that your ranged weapons mean that first off, you can re-roll a hit roll of 1, and also you get 3 inches on your ranged weapons, which is very good. So what you can do, and now for today's review update, you have. Okay, so they're introducing brand new units here. Not just brand new units, but also brand new weapons and also some major rules changes. So basically, the Vanguard in the Shadow Spear box set, we were all introduced into the Vanguard Space Marines. Now there's another part of the Vanguard Space Marines that has been introduced. You have the Infiltrators, but now from the same kit, you can create what is called the Incursor squads. Now these Incursors are kind of more close combat oriented. Like they have what is it they have? Here it is. This squad is an alternative build from the multi-part Infiltrator kit. In addition to being armed with Oculus bolt carbines that rob the enemy of cover, Incursors are equipped with awesome multi-spectrum arrays that prevent them from suffering any negative modifiers when using ranged weapons. That's cool. That's cool. Because if I remember correctly, bolt carbines are an assault weapon, and if you run so basically if you advance, you can still advance and shoot. Let's see. It says here, if you want a unit that can drive an enemy unit from cover with punishingly accurate volleys at rapid fire range from the outside of the battle, you'll want yourself an Incursor squad. Alright, they're also equipped with paired combat blades. Let's see, paired combat blades. When resolving an attack made with this weapon, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores an additional hit. That's actually cool, but that sounds like a harder way of getting a chainsword to go off. That's just a chainsword with an extra step to it. That's basically a chainsword with an extra step to it. Sorry. And also, apparently, Incursors can carry smoke launchers and can set up in concealed position. But the squad is also equipped with haywire mines that can be planted mid-battle. Once primed, the first enemy unit to move within 3 inches of the haywire mine risk suffering D3 mortal wounds, D3 plus 1 if it's a vehicle, before the mine is then removed. By feeling a number of small units, you can lay enough haywire mines to make it near suicidal to approach. It's an area denial tactic. That's wonderful. That's a perfect way of just making like, oh, you can't, you're not gonna try and charge us, and you, it's like, oh, if you charge us, you're gonna get blown to bits. But there might be a bit of a thing. It's like, oh, it's not primed until the next turn or something. Okay, now this is about the new. No, right now I didn't tell you about this. This is the Impulsor. The Impulsor is the dedicated space. It's the new dedicated Primaris transport that we've all been asking for. Now, what it is that it can. Now, the thing is that the Repulsor. The Repulsor can carry 6 models. The Repulsor Executioner can carry 6 models. The Impulsor can still carry 6 models. Oh boy. But it's pretty heavily defensible. And Impulsor is a fantastic all-around support vehicle. In addition to a huge variety of weapon options and other handy upgrades, there's also a nifty transport option for your Primaris Space Marines, able to bear 6 models safely to battle with its armored hull if you need to race forward. Alright, it has an ability called Assault Vehicle. Now, you all remember Assault Vehicle. The old rule was that vehicles with the vehicle transports with the Assault Vehicle rule, you could once you disembarked, you could charge. This Assault Vehicle formation basically means but with today's rules, when it comes to transports, you have to disembark. You can only disembark a model. I think you can only disembark models before you move the transport. But with assault vehicles, it says you can, let's see, after this model moves in your movement phase, if this model did not advance, any units embarked aboard it can disembark. Units that do so cannot choose to charge that with that turn. That means that means the thing's just moving, they jump out, and they can blast you to bits. To better protect the valuable cargo, an Impulsor can be equipped with a shield dome for a 4+ invul save. Now that's good. That ensures that your cargo, ensures that you're transporting a very important unit. You can also take an Iron Hail Sky Talon array for some solid anti-air firepower, or a Bellicatus missile array for a choice of 3 missile warheads: Frag, Crack, and Icarus. Believe me, when I get to the combat doctrines, you're all gonna plot. Alternatively, equipping your Impulsor with an orbital comms array enables you to call down some seriously heavy fire support in the form of an orbital bombardment. Now, I'm not sure here. Okay, hold on. In your shooting phase, 1 model from your army with an orbital comms array that has not been used this battle can use it to call in an orbital barrage. If it does, select 1 point on the battlefield and roll d1d6 for each unit within d6. I would keep an eye out for that, because hold on, let me read that again. In your shooting phase, 1 model from your army with an orbital comms relay that has not been used in this battle. Oh my god. If you can use that, if you can basically use that, you might be able to use an orbital bombardment multiple times in a battle. Ugh. Now here's the new Matrix Revolution Warsuit. The Invictor Tactical Warsuit, which does look like the APU from the Matrix movie. Alright, an Invictor Tactical Warsuit is in essence a Redemptor Dreadnought that has been stripped back and redesigned with lighter sound dampening materials for use in covert operations. Why is this cool? Because their design makes them so stealthy that they can even set up in a concealed forward position, like the infiltrators and incursors. In addition to a hard-hitting Invictor fist, the warsuit is armed with a powerful primary weapon in the form of flame-throwing incendium cannon and a twin iron hail autocannon with which it can unleash your choice of fiery or high velocity death. Now that's impressive there. Let's see, the incendium cannon, range 12, heavy 2d6, strength 5, AP minus 1. 1 damage. It's a flame weapon, so it automatically hits. 2 iron hail autocannon, twin iron hail autocannon. Heavy 6, strength 7, AP minus 1, 2 damage. Alright, and the Invictus has a particularly interesting sidearm, which is a heavy bolter. Now the thing is that when this model is within 1 inch of any enemy units, its heavy bolter has a type characteristic of pistol 3. That's gonna be great to use in close combat. Especially when it comes to Space Wolves. It's like it's gonna be perfect. I think it's gonna be perfect. And let's see. Infiltrators are able to set up in no man's land with their concealed positions ability and use their omni scramblers to keep enemy reinforcements at bay. A huge advantage when it comes to maintaining control of the battlefield. However, instead of assembling one of your infiltrators as a Helix adept, you can equip one of your squad with an infiltrator comms array. Whilst this unit contains a model with an infiltrator comms array, if there are any friendly Phobos captain or Phobos lieutenant models on the battlefield, this unit is always treated as being within range of those models' rights of battle and tactical precision abilities. Now that's an interesting ability right there. Meaning that your Phobos captain or lieutenant can just give out can be able to give out certain abilities. Now I wonder how that's going to affect when it comes to Space Wolves right there. So like meaning that I have to see about that. We'll really have to see about that. How the infiltrators will merge a little more into the Space Wolves chapter. And the Eliminator Squad. The Eliminator Squad is the dedicated sniper unit of Primaris units. They have what's called, and also in Apocalypse. A lot of this stuff was covered in a number of the stuff was kind of covered in Apocalypse. Las Fusel. The Eliminator Sergeant can also play. Now, Las Fusels are the dedicated vehicle killers. Range 36, heavy 1, strength 8, AP minus 3, 3 damage. And an interesting little ability they've got here. Not the Fusel, but the Eliminators. They've got what's called covering fire. The first time this unit's Eliminator Sergeant fires Overwatch with an Instigator bolt carbine in your opponent's turn, this unit can, after it has resolved its Overwatch, move as if it were your movement phase. It cannot advance as part of this move, meaning that you can lure your opponent into a trap. Your opponent has to get close enough to charge you, so I'm going to fall back. Now this is the part, non-codex chapters. Blood Angels, Space Wolves, and Dark Angels. Now these are the units that we're going to get. Captain in Phobos armor, Librarian in Phobos armor, Lieutenant in Phobos armor. Eliminator Squad, Incursor Squad, Infiltrator Squad, Suppressor Squad, Invictor Tactical Warsuit, Impulsor, and Primaris Repulsor Executioner. These are going to be given to us in the form of free PDFs. And we'll also get the shock assault. Actually, did I tell you about the shock assault rule? I don't think so. So the shock assault rule is the shock assault ability is going to be for all Space Marines, both Loyalist and Chaos. Shock assault basically is that you charge. Is that when a Space Marine unit charges, they get +1 to hit. They get +1 attack. So they kind of got Blood Claws back to strength, back to 4 attacks on the charge. We'll have to wait and see how that's going to be incorporated. Excuse me. Sorry. Let's see. Angel. Now, here's the interesting thing. This is the big thing that they've got for vanilla Space Marines. Angels of Death. Combat Doctrines. Combat doctrines represent the structured way in which adherents of the Codex of Stories overcome any adversity. First of all, they bombard their enemies from afar with heavy weapons, then they advance on their positions while delivering punishing volleys of bolter fire before charging in to crush whatever's left in brutal melee. Now, this is an interesting thing. Devastator Doctrine. Now there are 3 combat doctrines. Devastator Doctrine, Tactical Doctrine, and Assault Doctrine. Now, all these doctrines, what they do is that they increase the armor-piercing value of certain types of weapons. The Devastator Doctrine increases the armor penetration of heavy weapons and grenade weapons. To say a frag grenade, strength 3. While as long as the Devastator Doctrine is active, it becomes strength 3. It's still strength 3, AP -1, 1 damage. I know. Basically, what they've done is they've made grenades viable. Now, hold on. There's actually this particularly interesting thing here that we really got to focus on. All right. Your Space Marines will begin the battle with the Devastator Doctrine active. At the start of any of your turns after the first, you can choose to change from the Devastator Doctrine to the Tactical Doctrine, and again on a later turn from the Tactical Doctrine to the Assault Doctrine. Once you've changed doctrines, you can't go back. Your Space Marines are already committed, but your current doctrine will remain active for the remainder of the battle unless changed. Here are the benefits you can look forward to while each doctrine is active. So. Now, Tactical Doctrine. The armor penetration characteristic of rapid fire and assault weapons this model is equipped with is improved by 1. These are army-wide combat doctrines, meaning that basically, if you're playing regular Space Marines, Tactical Marines, Assault Marines, you're gonna get something that this is just gonna be. They just basically made bolt guns AP -1 if you switch to a Tactical Doctrine. So I don't want to go for Primaris Marines. I don't want to go for Primaris Marines. My Standard Marines can now have AP1 on turn 2. If I want, my Standard Marines can, all my Standard Tactical Marines can fire AP1 shots on turn 2. On turn 1, my heavy bolters are. On turn 1, my heavy bolters are AP -2. That's so cool. It's and the Assault Doctrine, armor penetration characteristic of pistols and melee weapons. So basically, later on in the game, you're gonna be shooting your pistol, like you're going to be shooting your pistol in close combat, and it's going to just be killing as many of these guys, and you're just going to be sweeping through entire formations of your opponent. So that's all. So that's currently all the stuff that's going to be released later on. It's going to be released. Pre-orders start this Saturday. Now, I know, guys, Space Wolves are not going to be getting these combat doctrines. Basically, I've noticed, I was on Facebook, and I noticed a lot of these people, like, are Space Wolves going to get combat doctrines? But it's like, that would basically be meaning that, you want the basically that would mean that that Space Wolves are trying to become Codex compliant. You really don't want to do. Do you really want to go down that road? Now, earlier in this video, I said that this might lead to the potential for the game for the Space Wolves Codex to release some more fluffy rules in the future. No pun intended. So it's like, I would say we could be looking at company traits or special or ways of war ways of war for each comfort, like of the 12 great companies. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. It opens the door for things that could just make us like, because remember, like it is that, like I said, first off, they have to get all the rules. They have to get the armies up to date, get them in there. Then they'll work on things like fluff, and then they'll work on things like more advanced, fluffy thematic rules. So we'll have to wait and see. I really hope that this kind of shows that you can't. You have, because it's like people have been collecting standard Space Marines for years. Like this is the thing. People have been collecting standard Space Marines for years, and they're finally making a way to kind of make them viable again. So like, I'm getting started on Primaris units, but I'm still using regular Space Marines. Now this is a way to get my standard Space Marines more into the battle. Actually, if you think about it, these combat doctrines could make it so, because I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not really sure how this is going to affect the entire army. Could be limited to certain vehicles. But it says here, the Devastator Doctrine. Heavy weapons and grenades get -1 AP. Deathwind missile launcher, anybody? That's right. Or the Tactical Doctrine. Your drop pod storm bolters come down. Your drop pod storm bolters start just spewing out all this. Starts spewing out, and it's like -1 AP, and your tactical Marines are shooting out, and they got -1 AP weapons. I hope this video has been enlightening. Also, kind of, when I look about it, it's kind of disappointing to me because, you know me, I'm a Space Wolf player through and through. So I hope you all kind of got kind of happy about this. So we'll wait and see until next year. I hope. I really, really hope. But have a good day. And happy wargaming.